everyone. Happy Wednesday. It is May 7th already, and welcome to today's technique class. Today's technique class will be using white ink and the different ways that you can use white ink in your card making. So welcome. I am Gina Bulow coming to you from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. I'm going to pop up here and make sure that we are where we need to be and that I've got everything right. And then when you guys pop on, say hello, tell me where you're coming from. I know a few popped in a little bit earlier while I was getting things set up and that, and so I don't know if they're still watching, if Julie and Linda are still there, or, well, welcome ladies. So white craft ink is what we'll be playing with today, or I shouldn't say it's not called white craft ink anymore, it's called Whisper White Ink. So while you guys are popping on, say hello. Good morning, Sandy. And I'll kind of go through. I have a class that you guys have known about, but I finally scheduled the live version of it. Will be next week, Monday, May 12th at 9 o'clock, and it will be for the May Card Buffet. And the May Card Buffet featured all of the new products that just launched yesterday, from the new catalog and online exclusives. So I have 6 cards for you guys, and oh, I just love these cards. And we had so much fun making them in person this past weekend. So we have these 6 cards you will make. Cost is $32 plus shipping. I did make extra kits ahead of time, so I have some kits ready to go. Good morning, Nadra. So reach out if you would like kits for this class. They're, like I said, probably some of my favorite cards because I've got such a wide variety. We've got birthday, congratulations, sympathy, just because. So lots of fun things to play with. And I like that I was able to get cards. Sometimes, you know, you kind of tend to stick in a certain, I don't know, genre or... and I really was able to kind of, we've got some more masculine cards, we've got some more feminine cards, and it's May, it's Mother's Day, and we have 3 cards here that could be substituted as Mother's Day. Mother's Day is coming up this weekend, so cheers to moms, exclusively made for you. You could stick a wonderful gift card in there for Mother's Day. We've got a happy birthday that can be turned into a Mother's Day. So lots of options for you guys. So reach out if you want kits. I will have kits available to order until this week. We'll make it till Mother's Day. So the 11th is Mother's Day. So reach out by Sunday if you would like kits for this class. So as you guys know, our catalog and online exclusives went live yesterday. Woohoo! We've all been waiting for this. I was, as a demonstrator, I was able to see a lot of this at Onstage back in March. So that was very exciting. And you get excited, you get all these new products, and you just want to play with them and show them off. So now they're finally available for all of you to order. If any of you need a catalog out there and you do not have a demonstrator, I would be happy to send you a catalog. So message me if you would like a catalog. Also, a really great special going on right now. If you would love to join my team, I would love to have you. You can get $166 worth of product for only $99. So you can pick out whatever you want for $166, get it for $99, plus you're getting free shipping. And they also send you usually a paper pumpkin and some business supplies. Whether you use those or not, that's completely up to you. So it is a really great deal just to get some really great product at a great price. So if you like to be, let's say, just a hobby demo or a discount shopper, now is the time. So that sale goes through the end of the month. So May 31st you have till, and I feel like there was one more special, but it's not coming to my head, so there probably isn't. I'm probably thinking of one that just expired. So anyways, welcome. I hope you guys are ready to stamp. as always, this is where you guys can find me. You can find me on my Facebook page. That's where right now I keep everything updated, and you know, if I need to change things, that is where it's going to be. So you can find me at Glitter and Ink with Gina on Facebook. You can email me at ginaalbulo@gmail.com. So those are ways to contact me. So white ink. How many of you play with the white ink? I feel like it is one of those cards that are inks that we kind of forget about, you know, different ways that we can use this. So here we're going to do 4 different techniques. Well, actually 5, I think, is what it will end up being. This is, we've already embossed, and I'll show you how we do that white ink on here. This is on our new Secret C cardstock, so it's one of the new ink colors. And actually when you wipe the white ink on here, it looks like the new cloud cover, which is also a new ink color. So it looks really, really cool. And this one we will be doing a shadow technique. So I'll show you how to do that. And I never know how to pronounce this because I have heard it done so many different ways. If it's bokeh, bokeh. So we're going to do that technique on this piece of paper here, and then different ways to color with it and have color pop on colored cardstock. So you can do this on any light cardstock. You could do this on, let's say, lemon lolly, balmy blue, any lighter colored cardstock, and it helps color just pop off of that cardstock. So I'm going to show you 2 different ways that you could do this today on this card. So let's get stamping. So for our first card, we'll do the shadow technique. And this one might be a little bit harder to see. Oops. Dropping things, pulling cords down. Never good. So we have a piece of Poppy Parade and a piece of our Balmy Blue. I think I have an extra light here. Balmy Blue cardstock that we cut something out of the center, and then we're using this lovely corrugated folder. Now, one tip I will give you about this corrugated folder is your paper shrinks. So when you are embossing it in this folder and the stripes are going up and down like they are, it shrinks. So you need to remember that when you're making your mats and things. I add an extra 1/8 of an inch onto this longer side. It's not going to shrink this way, but it's going to shrink the long way here. So add an 1/8 of an inch to your measurements. So instead of this being a standard, let me see what my measurements are. This is Darling Duckling, 5 1/4 by 3 7/8. And our Balmy Blue is 5 1/4. So I made them the exact same size going the long way, but when it shrinks, you'll have that 1/8 of an inch border going around. Okay, so we're gonna adhere our Darling Duckling. I love these colors all together. They're bright, bold. Make a fun birthday card. Oops. I slid it just a little bit. Okay. You have a piece of the DSP. This DSP is from the new Turtley Cute DSP. So they've got turtles on one side, and then they have fun. There's stripes, there's polka dots. There's a beautiful embossing folder that goes with this turtle set that is adorable. Okay, so you got a piece of Poppy Parade that we're going to put our label on. Now, I should start off with one thing. I had it all set aside and I forgot. So, when you order your white ink pad, it comes like this with a refill. They do not come pre-inked like all of our other ink pads. It is inkless. So, you have to add ink to this. And now remember, this ink is a little bit different type of ink than our regular ink. It is much thicker. So what I do is I actually put a lot of ink on this because it's so thick and it absorbs into the ink pad. I should say it doesn't absorb as fast either as our regular inks. So it takes quite a bit. You guys can see I'm really squeezing the ink out of here. And you're going to take a spoon. This is my ink spoon. I keep this in my craft drawer, just a plastic spoon. You could use a metal spoon. It does not matter. And I keep this in my little craft bin so that anytime I need to re-ink an ink pad, this is the spoon that I use. Okay, so I can see there's still, and you guys can see it actually on the screen, where there still is lots of space to add some more. So I'm gonna go add another layer on. And I'm doing this on screen. I would have preferred to have done this before and then re-inked it again, but I just wanted you guys to see how a white ink pad comes, because I know there's many of you who have not used a white ink pad. Like I said, this is really thick ink and it's a little bit sticky compared to our regular ink. I feel like I'm almost playing with glue like you did when you were a kid and you would just put glue everywhere. So it does take a little bit for this to absorb into the foam, but remember, it's also thicker, so it does take more ink, at least in the beginning, to get it absorbed into your foam. Now, a lot of people find that they have taken the blank ink pad, so before there's any ink in it, and they are putting memento on it to give it a, some people don't like the fabric of the ink pad, and sometimes you don't get as crisp of an image. And so a lot of people, I've seen a lot of demonstrators, they are adding memento ink to this pad and making their own black ink pad. That's definitely a possibility too. But I will tell you, our new ink color called Sea Secret is probably, comes really close to a beautiful, dark, crisp black color. So if you are looking for a dark, crisp color, and I know it has a little bit of a blue hint to it, but it works just like black, and I just love it. I have actually been using that instead of memento. Okay. So there we go. And then all you have to do is rinse this off, maybe a little bit of Dawn dish soap on your spoon to clean it, and you'll be good to go. I'm going to set it aside here. And I'll clean it after we are done. All right. So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to have your balmy blue, and I am bringing in that giant. This is from the With You in Mind. I love these big fonts. And I'm going to make sure that there's nothing on here because I don't want any traces of color on my stamp that will go in my ink pad and ruin the white ink pad. So So you definitely want to do this step first, and I'm going to tell you why. If you try to, we're going to stamp in Poppy Parade over the top of it, but if you stamp in Poppy Parade first and you go through, oops, my label was upside down. And take, and you didn't clean your stamp pad off very good, and let me start that over. Okay, so let's say I stamped in Poppy Parade first, and then I went to dip my stamp after I've cleaned it, but there could be traces sometimes of that little pink left on there, and if your stamp pad is not clean, you will end up like I did. And I did not think once. I stamped it here first and in Poppy Parade, and I inked it up in white and went over the top. Well, I wasn't thinking that when I re-wet that ink, that Poppy Parade gets wet again, I should say. So your stamp will pick up some of that Poppy Parade ink. And then I dipped it in my white, and then I had this. So now I wiped it off the best I could, and it still stamps white, but I still have that little bit of pink in there, and I really tried to get that off, but I can't seem to get it off. So just keep that in mind. You will change the color of your white ink pad if you have any residue left from another color on here. So just be careful of that, okay? So we have stamped it in white. We're gonna clean it off because we don't want any of this white ink in our Poppy Parade. Now, this might be a little hard for some of you to see. You can see happy birthday here, but when you put your stamp over, sometimes it is a little bit difficult, depending on the stamp, to see your white ink coming through. So what I did, we'll see how well I do on the camera. What I did is I actually placed my phone on the side and had my light flashing. I was able to see it so much better. So maybe it was just the lighting in my home at that time, but I had trouble. Now, Chris's lighting is definitely much better than my lighting at home. So I'm going to, what I found is try to line this up as close as I can. Now, I'm sorry if I get my head in here, you guys might see that. So once I feel that I have it lined up almost exactly, I'm going to shift it slightly to the right. And then stamp. And you get this really cool shadow effect. And I really think that it helps your words just pop off the page. And I was gonna grab, oh, I know. I'm gonna do this again. I'm gonna stamp it on the other side so you guys can see side by side how that makes it pop. So, here's my original card. So do you see how that really takes that ink and it brightens it? I think that's so cool. So you can do that with any stamp. You can make a slight shadow with it. And I thought it looked really cool with these words. So, like I said, I don't know how well you guys are seeing it here, but you can definitely see the brightness of this. So I thought that was really, really cool. And what a fun technique. Now, I would love to know, as we're in technique class, right? What techniques would you guys like to see? Sometimes I kind of run out of ideas. There's a million ideas out there, right? But I'm always like, oh, what should I do? Or what do you guys want to learn? I definitely want to bring things to you guys that, you know, you guys want to learn or you're curious about, or you don't know how to use something. That's what technique class is all about, is learning different ways to use the things that we have. Okay, so I've layered that. We're gonna bring in, we have this trio pack of ribbon here. I'm gonna bring in our balmy blue ribbon. And I'll lay a strip across the middle. Does anyone have any big plans for Mother's Day? I have the 11th as Sunday, so I believe that's, yeah, Monday's the 12th. I got some comments here that, but yes, Sunday the 11th, that is Mother's Day. Monday is the 12th, and that's when I'll be here live for the card buffet. Anyone have any big plans for Mother's Day? And we'll make a bow here. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Gina. I have your bounded and laminated catalog there for you.
Oh, awesome. Catalog, catalog. Who loves a catalog? I do, I do. Especially when it's got a shiny front to protect it so I don't rip it or stick it in my bag and all my corners are ripped. And Chris and I both do this with our catalogs, that I like to go through my catalog and I highlight what I have. And as I order things, I also highlight them so that I do not get duplicates of things. I have to say I've been pretty lucky in that, but
Kelly's hoping to have the beekeeper's guide done before she leaves for Florida, like by the end of this weekend. So
okay,
people
so
who earned it should be watching for an email on that.
those of you who demonstrators and those customers who earn it, the beekeeper's guide that Kelly and Christine make is hopefully going to be done this weekend or so. So look for an email from Chris about that. That has been so helpful. Stampin' Up! Did listen to us with this new catalog. I will say they put some more things together, the ink colors and the tools and things like that. So that was really nice that they listened to us. But I know a lot of us, even myself, have trouble finding those online exclusives, you know, all together. It's nice to see everything all together that's available, and that is what this Beekeeper's Guide does. So it's pretty amazing, and it takes a lot of time for Kelly and Christine to get that all put together, but it's amazing.
And worth it.
And worth it, yes. Okay, so we'll put some pop-ups on our little label here. And Julie, you will be crafting in your pretty paper heart out. Oh, that's too cute. That sounds like a perfect Mother's Day. Peace and quiet in your craft room, creating wonderful things. That sounds like a wonderful day. And it looks like...
You can just leave all this stuff here.
Okay.
You don't have to put it back, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Oh, is Kitty getting into spoons?
Yeah,
It had ink on it. I just don't want...
Oh, that's fine. There. And I shot that just a little bit so they don't walk on it.
Kitties, kitties, kitties. There's always into something, right? I had my spoon back there. I can see a kitty walking around with a white paw. That would be fun, right? So there's our first card. We just have to stamp our inside. So I've got a little cupcake. Uh-oh. Did I not bring that stamp set? I did not. So, with you in mind, stamp set has like a flower, a heart, a star, and a cupcake. So I put a little cupcake down there. And then I brought in Time to Celebrate from Beautiful Butterflies, which I have on a stamp pad or in a block already. Oy, oy, oy. Words are hard this morning. So I'll have to stamp my little cupcake when I get home after this. There we go. I think I was saying before I lost track of my thoughts here, that is going to be, knock on wood, there's some wood somewhere right here, to be a beautiful weekend here. It looks like it's actually going to be almost 80 degrees, which is a little warm for me unless I'm sitting in my pool, but it'll be a beautiful weekend for people to gather and have a cookout and pamper moms. Okay, and then we've got some of these larger, what are they called? Faceted gems. And I'm just going to put a few of these on here. I think my Mother's Day we're going to do on Saturday, and my kids will all be home. I shouldn't say it, there's only one that's not home. But he'll be home, and then there's a greenhouse that I would love to go check out and get some flowers for the yard, and I think we're gonna do that and hopefully have a cookout, and maybe if there's enough time I can get them to do some weeding with me. Ha ha ha. We'll see. So here's card number 1. Like I said, that shadow technique is so cool. Okay, card number 2 will be, what's the next one in my bag? Okay. So this one I'm going to do, slightly different than my original, but pretty much the same. We've got a piece of old olive here, and I've cut out a postage die with strawberry slush, and we've got our white piece there. Now, one thing that you can do, or the thing that we're going to do different this time, and I just want to see side by side how they pop. So this one, I just stamped it in white ink, okay? So you can see that white coming through. Now I'm also going to stamp it in white ink again, but I am going to heat emboss it. Ooh, let's see if we got a big enough block here. I didn't grab one of my big blocks. Well, we'll do the best we can to get this all on this block. So this is the mixed floral stamp set. Like I said, we are going to ink this up. I'm going to bring in a piece of scratch paper right away. And first, before we emboss any of this or do anything, I'm going to take my embossing buddy make sure that the powder only goes where I want it to go. So ink this up really good. The nice thing is if you struggle with Versamark ink, seeing it, I know some people are like, I can't see it, and so they struggle with it. You can use white when you're using white embossing powder. I guess I've not tried using gold or white, or not white, black over the top to see what that would do, but definitely you can use clear or white, and I feel like this gives the white powder an extra pop. So there, I've got it inked up. Now I'm gonna sprinkle. So I'm not using Versamark ink, I'm just using our white ink. So there's our powder out there. How many of you have ever taken your heat tool and just turned it on while your powder is sitting there and had powder go flying everywhere? I can say I'm guilty of that. Not thinking you're in a hurry, you're doing something, and all of a sudden, there's powder going everywhere. So my heat tool doesn't reach the screen, so you're going to heat it up like you would with any embossing that you do, or heat embossing, I should say. And when I heat emboss, I do it from the back and from the front because your paper will curl. Just a little bit it does, but I think that helps even it out. And Julie, you said you're stopping at Cold Stone Ice Cream for a Mother's Day treat since you're by yourself. Oh my goodness. Your daughter's, one of the twins is in the NICU in Sanford and Fargo, so I won't be with her. Aww. Well, I hope those twins are doing well and they're healthy. Hopefully that little one can come home soon. And then you guys can all celebrate together when everyone is home. Good morning, Deanne and Karen. And Stampin' Up with Mama G. Mama G, who are you? Okay, so we're now all heat embossed. Look at that, so pretty. And I'm gonna wipe this off before I forget and I get white ink everywhere. Now, one thing I will tell you is, like I said, this ink is sticky, so I would actually, when I'm done, when I go home today and I'm done playing with white ink, I will go and I will wash out my chamois so that I'm not transferring white anywhere or stickiness anywhere. The twins were born on 4/15. Oh, my son's birthday is on 4/14. One is doing really well. And been in the, and so how early were they, Julie? Or how big were they when they were born? It's always hard for a mama when she's not at home with her babies after they're born. So we're gonna bring in our white craft ink again, and I am just going to ink up one of my stamp blocks, okay? And we're gonna bring in an aqua painter. And I always use, I have one of my kids' bibs, speaking of kids, this was from my firstborn. I use this bib as my little rag. Now I wish I would have kept more of them because they come in so nice and handy. Now we have these aqua painters. These were the first ones when I first started stamping. These were the first aqua painters I used. And then we came out with these aqua painters. Now we currently do not, I believe in the new catalog, have any aqua painters. So I'm not sure what they're going to be doing, but use whatever you have. You could use a paintbrush if you have a paintbrush at home. So I'm going to have a little water on my aqua painter, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to fill in all of these embossed areas. You don't need a lot of water with your white craft ink. Mama G, you are Maria. Well, welcome, Maria. We're glad to have you here. And Angelique has popped on. Hello, Miss Angelique. And it's okay if you have lighter spots of white and darker spots of white. That's okay. And I'm really not squeezing any more water. I don't want my paper to get soaking wet. You know, this is not watercolor paper. So just keep that in mind, that when you're adding this, you don't want to oversaturate your paper. And I'm being sloppy about it. There's no, I mean, I'm staying in the lines, but you don't have to be perfect with this. This is just, we're lightening up this cardstock. And I know that these stems don't touch all the way down, but I'm going to make them touch all the way down. Okay, so now we have colored all of this, all right? Wipe off your aqua painter. We're gonna set this aside because we're gonna use that again, I believe. And I'm going to dry this. You wanna make sure that this is dry before we start painting. And I actually need to wipe my block off because I need to use it. So we won't be keeping that white craft ink on there. Like I said, do it from the front and do it from the back because your paper will curl. Now you don't have to necessarily dry this with a heat tool. If you've got time to let it just sit out and dry. But for camera's sake today, we are having to dry it today. Okay. So I wipe my block off, mostly with paper towel first, so I don't have all that white ink in here. And then you just go through, you can wipe it on your chamois, you can rinse it under the sink, comes right off. Okay. So now I'm gonna bring in, what do I got, 2 blocks here? I didn't bring all my blocks today, I only have a few blocks. And we are going to bring in Strawberry Slush, Old Olive, and Daffodil Delight. Good morning, Elaine. You love this technique. You'll have to catch the replay. Sounds good. And hello, Polly. Welcome. Oh my gosh, Polly just posted a post of all these cards that you donated. I forget which 2 causes you had put on there, but it was amazing the amount of boxes that she had that she was donating. It's so wonderful. Okay, so the first thing I do is I'm only using a little bit, so I'm just sticking the corner of my ink or my block into my ink, and I'm gonna pick up that yellow. Now, there are 2 ways that you can, well, actually 3 ways. You could take a re-inker and put some on a block and go from there. You can do exactly like I did, or you could get ink in your stamp pad. Now, I have found that I do not like to put ink in here. I feel like sometimes it gets messy, and sometimes when you wipe things out, like I'll take a paper towel and I'll wipe things out, and sometimes it leaves those fibers in there, and then those fibers are in your ink pad, and sometimes those fibers will then go onto your stamps when you're inking them up, and then you don't get a crisp, clear image. So I've actually stopped doing that, but I must have done this at one time. But you can squeeze your ink pad if you push in the center, and you're gonna push pretty firmly, and then open it up, and then you'll have some ink in here, okay? So I'm gonna take my Daffodil Delight, and I am just going to color over the top of my white ink. Who knew, right, that you could color on crumb cake and have color pop? Okay, so I'm going to clean that off. I'll wipe off my block. And then we're going to bring in our strawberry slush. Oh, and we're going to ink up our ink pad. And now we're going to do our tulips. And I always start towards the bottom, and like with a flower here, I like to do brush strokes. I feel like when you look at a flower and it has different colors and varying colors in it, it's not straight lines of color. Those lines are varied, and if you really look at them, like a two-tone tulip or something like that, or even a rose, it's not a line and it almost looks watercolory. So that's how I like to paint my flowers usually. I just take some brush strokes, and I'm okay if there's some white space on there. I think it gives it character. And then I will go through and I will add layers of color as we go. So I'm going to let that dry a little bit. We're going to do a little bit of our old olive on our leaves while that pink dries, and then we'll come back to the pink or strawberry slush and add some more. Now you could just leave this a white flower on here. You wouldn't have to color this in if you didn't want to. You could just have the white ink and color it in with white ink and put some Wink of Stella on and have a completely different look. And I will add dark areas and light areas. And as you can see, I do my leaves the same way. I just do brush strokes. Nice thing about watercoloring is the paper does a lot of the coloring for you. It soaks in, it blends it in. So I feel like it's more forgiving than, let's say, you were just painting with like acrylic paints or something like this. Watercolors isn't necessarily straight, perfect lines. It's supposed to be fluid. The thing is, you do want to be a little bit careful that you're not taking your old olive over your little yellow flowers here. You might not see them as well. And the same here for your tulip. So look how that pops on your paper. How cool is this? I just love it. Okay, I made sure to clean off, and all you have to do when using an aqua painter to clean off, you just squeeze out the water, and I keep rubbing it on either a paper towel or a bib like I have, or an old rag or towel. I tend to like I said, this bib better than, let's say, paper towel or even baby wipes, because they leave that little lint fibers, and I tend to not like the fibers on my stuff. So but that's just me personally. Now I'm going through and I'm adding more of my pink, and I'm keeping it darker towards the bottom and letting it get lighter as it goes to the top here. And still using those brush strokes. And when you're happy with your coloring, so this is what we've got here. So you can see it's not completely, the pink isn't completely colored. You've got some of the white coming through. You've got dark areas of green, a little bit lighter areas of green. Lots of color variation. Okay, so I wipe my blacks off, and then you can take and just rinse them under the sink and it'll come right off. And I'm actually going to dry this real quick to make sure that everything, with the wet paper, sometimes your adhesive doesn't want to stick as well. So what's everyone up to? It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day here in Wisconsin. Actually, like I said, knock on wood earlier, it looks like we're going to have some nice weather over the next week. So hopefully I'll get lots of yard work done. So now, of course, I'm going to take my wink of Stella and add some sparkle to everything, because everything's better with Stella, right? Now just remember, your Stella is going to pick up that color. So just make sure to wipe it off in between your colors. Okay. The hard part is done. It's not hard, it's actually fun. If you've never watercolored, this is such a fun technique. So we're going to adhere this to our piece of strawberry slush. And then I have two labels here. We're going to bring in Simply Said. Happy birthday. Oh, I keep grabbing the wrong black. Oh my goodness. I have to steal one of Christine's. And we're stamping in Strawberry Slush. And this one just barely fits on this label, but it works. I think that's crooked, but we're gonna go with it. Then put that aside before I get pink everywhere. Then you're gonna have a piece of Old Olive in here. Same exact label, but I'm gonna cut it in half. And then we're gonna adhere that to our label. So I just want a little bit of Old Olive peeking through. And I do this a lot. I will layer punches, dies like this. Then I will bring in, you know, everything is here right in front of me. It's just a matter of where. Right here, tear tape. love baker's twine. I don't know about you guys, but I love baker's twine, and we have this 3-pack. We've got, I believe this is Shy Shamrock, Azure Afternoon, and Strawberry Slush. And we're gonna weave this behind our label. Like so. Trim off any excess. Add some dimensionals, because I believe everything is better popped up. And I should adhere this to my card base first. Someone's outside mowing their lawn. That's what I need to do. We gotta go pick up sticks first. Okay, so we've got that on. We're gonna take our label, put it across like that. And then we've got those beautiful brushed butterflies. We'll add those to our card. Ta-da! Now we just need to stamp our inside. I'm making loud noises. And I believe I used my old olive, and there was this little flower stamp. Brought that in from this set. Now, if you don't have this floral stamp set at home, that's okay. Use any floral stamp. Anything that you have, you can use. Okay, then I'm going to bring in that daffodil again with my Wink of Stella. I do this a lot also. And I'm just going to pick up a little bit of that yellow. I love to color with my Wink of Stella. And our sentiment was going to be birthday wishes. Which is not in here. So I had card buffet and I left it all set up because I knew I was going to have this class on Monday, and I'm like, I'm going to keep everything all together so I don't forget anything for the card buffet. And some of that stuff that was in the card buffet I used on these cards. So that's what happens when I think I'm trying to be organized here and have it all together. So I've got May All Your Wishes Come True. I feel like Cinderella should come out with her fairy godmother and wave her wand with that sentiment. So this is Unbound Love. It is not a new stamp set. This was a carryover. So who loves it when they carry over stamp sets you already have? I always feel then it's less stamps that I have to buy, right? But then they come out with all these new ones that I need to have. Okay, so what is everyone's need to have or must have out of the new catalog or online exclusives? Mine are those party dies and banners. Oh my goodness. We have nice size letters. I would say they're about 3 inches or so. And there's banners that you could actually make a really large banner for a party. Oh my goodness, I love them. Okay, so card number 2. So this is the difference between the 2 cards. Now this one, I just stamped in white ink and then painted it on. So I did everything the same, except this one, I heat embossed it with white powder. So both stamped in the white ink, but look at that difference. And look how crisp and bright that white powder is. I love it. So you have 2 completely different looks. One just with like some, almost like a white shadow on everything, a white outline, and then with the embossed powder gives it a completely different look. So you choose, which one is your favorite? This one without or this one with embossed? You'll have to take a vote. Let me know. Okay, so this one I'm really excited about because I feel like when I first started making cards, this technique was really popular, and bokeh, however you say it, was really popular, and I was making a lot of different backgrounds this way. So I'm so excited to share this with you. So in this card, we're going to create our own background. So you know we had DSP already. That is, oh my God, catalog right here. That is already this technique. But I'm going to show you guys how to make your very own, and you can pick and choose whatever colors you like. So you can see it has that like, almost like there's bubbles, or sometimes in a photograph you would see that. And we have that DSP, but let's make it ourselves, right? So I'm going to bring in, where's my other aqua painter? I don't know. Here it is. This one. And I'm going to bring in, we got Calypso Coral and Petunia Pop. So I got 2 votes for with embossing. 3 votes. Okay. So we've got Calypso Coral on 1 ink pad and Petunia Pop. Great color combination, right guys? Orange and purple. It doesn't get any better than that. Okay. So I am going to get this wet, and I'm going to wet my paper, and I'm just lightly going through and wetting it. You do not need to be an artist to do this. Now I'm going to take this and I'm just going to randomly put it in spots on my paper. It's making a hot mess. That's okay. That's what you want. And in between colors, and I'll go through and I'll add just a few darker spots. In between colors, clean off your brush. You could have just a bowl of water here and you could be dipping. And now we're gonna put some purple in here. Isn't this looking cool? Ta-da. And it looks like a hot mess, right? Gina, what are you doing? Trust me. Trust the process, you guys. And I'm just going to go through, add a little more ink so I have dark spots, light spots. Go through it. I'm going to add a little more Calypso. Now you do have to be careful whichever colors you choose, that they're going to be colors that actually blend together and don't turn into mud. So if you were to mix, let's say, orange and green together, you're going to get mud. So you're going to get mud brown if you mix those two together. There we go. We have our hot mess, right? That's okay. And look how bold this looks compared to that, okay? So now I'm gonna go through, clean up my mess here. So this is, you can make your own DSP. And I did use watercolor paper for this. When you're saturating like this, you definitely want to use watercolor paper. Okay, we're gonna dry this. Has anyone ever done this technique before? Like I said, I feel like this was really popular when I first started stamping. So I would say around 2015-ish or so. Good morning, Holly. Okay, my paper is nice and dry. Got a hot mess over here. And I made, where is it though? Da, 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 da. I am losing everything today, you guys. Oh no, where did I put it? You need this for this part of the card. And I know that I had it, so it's got to be here. But it's a clear sheet, so it's a window sheet actually. And if you order these kits, I will send one for you. One of those days, absolutely. Nothing is right here where I think it was. Okay, so I might have to scramble around. It'll reappear as soon as I clean up for the day, and it'll be like, it's right here. Okay, let me double check my bag. Wow. No such luck, guys. So maybe I dropped it on the floor. Okay, so we're gonna move on and we're going to make do with what we have. And what I have is a different punch. This leaf punch, okay? So in your kits, you will get a piece of acetate with different circle sizes, okay? And you will use those multiple circle sizes to create your bokeh. And I use the window sheet or acetate because I can just wipe it off and reuse it. So I've made my own homemade stencil by doing it. So we're gonna do some tropical leaves. I think those will look cool with this. We'll find out. Either we'll like it or we won't. This is how we stamp on the fly. We only had one big circle punch, so that just wasn't gonna do it for me. Okay, so I'm randomly going to do this, and I'm going to do this over each other. So like with my circles, I place a circle on top of a circle, and you guys will see. So I'm taking my white ink, and now that looks maybe a little bit scary with my sponge dauber. And you see how you've made that leaf there? Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to do this all over my paper. Now pretend it's beautiful circles. Okay, and I do some lighter and some more vibrant white than others. And I'm just tapping this on. Now, one thing too is, excuse me, your dauber can pick up some of this color. So just be aware of that. When doing this. And your white will lighten up as it dries. So I'm just tapping. Thank you, Holly. The leaf works also. It does. I like the look of circles, but the leaf is cool too. So you guys get the concept of what we're doing. So when I made my sheet, I just took like a, I would say it's a 3x4 sheet, and I cut out different size circles from a 1/2 inch to, I believe I did up to as big as 1.5 inches. And then I just chose different circles to use randomly. So I would sometimes do a 1/2 of a circle on an edge and then do a little circle in the middle of it. And you don't need to cover your page completely. But you can if you want to. Like I said, the biggest key here is to layer over the one so that you don't just have a leaf, you have multiple leaves and multiple layers, and you could do this with squares, you could do this with stars. You could do this with any decorative mask that you have at home. I'm getting inky today too, at least it's white ink. So there we go. We kind of get that. It softens up the background, right? And you can use paper like I'm using, or like I said, I make my own stencil up, and that way I can just keep reusing it over and over again. So you can see on the end of my dauber isn't so white. Oops. My dauber isn't so white anymore. So just keep that in mind, like I said, that it's picking up ink. Okay, so we've daubered it all over, and we got leaves this time instead of circles. But it's such a fun technique, and you can do this with any shades of color. You can do blues and greens, you could do yellows, you could do 3 or 4 different colors on here. You could do a whole rainbow, okay? You pick. So now we are going to not use the white, but use the purple. Again, corrugated folder. I made it about 1/8 of an inch longer. And I'm going to burnish my card base. Now, you guys know I use Calypso Coral and Poppy Parade, but I felt like when I put that white ink on, the Calypso Coral just didn't work for me. So we brought in Flirty Flamingo for our card base. How many of you have the old-fashioned crimper where you could crimp your paper like this? I remember thinking that was so cool. My aunt had one. I kept playing with it all the time. I think I'm running out of glue, guys. Okay, so this one I'm going to put on here straight. And then the next one I'm going to off center. And this is just, these techniques are just a few of the techniques that you can use. There are so many other techniques out there that you can use your white ink on. This is just a few ideas. Okay, so now we're gonna layer on our butterflies. You have one? Yep, I had one. I think I finally got rid of it though when we moved, figuring we had a different, I believe, corrugated folder at the time. Maybe it was a bigger corrugated folder, but I used to think it was so cool running that paper through, and you know, it's the simple pleasures in life, right? Just like having all them scissors that would cut different shapes. Oh, that was so much fun. I actually just put a whole bunch of them in like a box to do like one of Christine's sales that she has. Like there'll be some grandma out there or mom who will get those for their kids, and they can cut up their own paper and have different shapes, and how fun will that be? And I'm actually gonna move, oh, well, I didn't even have this down very good, so this is perfect. Move this up just a little bit. And then we're gonna do the same thing we did with our last card. We're going to stamp our sentiment, and we're bringing in the happy birthday from the beautiful butterflies, which carried over. Bring in our embossing buddy. Holly, you used yours a lot too. I agree. It was like a cool, I don't know. It was cool. I'll just say that. So much fun. And I love sometimes when some of that older stuff comes back in a new way. It's fun to see how things change, and you'll notice that even just like with fashion, we have the same thing happen in our scrapbooking. How techniques and things kind of fade away. They become all the rage and everybody's doing it. And then all of a sudden, you don't see it for 10 years. And now when they brought this bulky paper back, that was my first thought, is like, oh, that's a trend that's coming back again. So once again, we stamped with our white ink. I'll open up my paper. And I really do feel like when you use the white ink, it really makes your white embossing powder just pop. And then we will melt this again. I feel like I've definitely been painting today. It looks like my hands look like they do when I paint, and you've got paint all over your fingers and hands. And this is where I say I've been working hard today because I'm all inky. You guys can see my fingers, they're all white inky. And then we're gonna bring in our Petunia Pop ribbon. That's always a good crafting day, I feel like, when you've got inky fingers. Until you ruin a card because you have inky fingers. How many of you have done that? You've worked all this time to make this beautiful card, and then you ruined it by sticking inky fingers on your white page. And another fun technique we're gonna do in a moment here is, I didn't feel that we had any Petunia Pop gems, and I realize we now have Petunia Pop gems, but I'm like, oh, I want Petunia Pop gems. So what do? You grab your rhinestones and you color them with your blends. So I'm just taking my blend and coloring a few gems. And now I have the exact color that I want. So you can do that with any gem. There we go. Isn't that cute? So another fun technique for you. Then we need to stamp our inside, and I will bring in that Time to Celebrate again in Petunia Pop. Oh, I was a little nervous. I had some ink on my block and I was nervous I was going to get, after I just talked about ruining something with ink, I thought maybe this was it. This would be my omen that I'm going to ruin this. And then I'm going to stamp off my butterfly and just put one down there in the corner. So is anyone up to anything fun today? Okay, we're gonna glue this to our inside. I will be cutting kits because I believe Christine is shipping tomorrow, or working on shipments tomorrow. So those of you who are waiting, I have just a few things to finish up and they will go in your kits with Christine's. So there we go. This one was with leaves. This one was with circles. And depending on how much white ink you use and how many circles you use, you will get a different look every time you do this. But just a fun technique. And like I said, you don't have circles, use leaves. Use, you could have had, if I had a butterfly punch handy, I would have grabbed a butterfly punch. So you can do this with flowers. You can do it with anything. So here we go. Card number 3 done. Any other techniques that you, I shouldn't say techniques, tools or, yeah, techniques that are back like from the olden days? Anyone have any other ones that they can think of that, you know, like the crimper and the fun shaped scissors? So for our final card, this is gonna be a super easy card. We've got Sea Secret and Cloud Cover, both which are new in colors. And this is a new embossing folder. It comes in a 2-pack. I forget what it's called, so if anyone knows the name, give it a shout out. So I've already embossed this. So we've got our Sea Secret base. I'll move all this out of the way so hopefully I don't make a mess. So I've already embossed this. And all I'm gonna do, you could do this one of 2 ways. I'm just gonna drag it across the top, or you could just set your ink pad on and lightly, very lightly, you don't wanna push, put pressure on it and it will pick up the embossing. So we're just gonna take this and very lightly, we're not putting a lot of pressure, and I'm actually gonna start off of my paper so that I'm not setting it completely on. And I've actually pushed a little hard, but that's okay. So I've got a little white streaks going on here. It's okay, I don't mind it. It gives it a unique look. So it picked up all of that. So you can do this with any embossing folder. That's all I did was drag it. Now, like I said, do it really lightly. I probably pushed too hard and had it down. You actually don't want to have your ink pad down like I did. I started down, but I should have just been more straight. I started down and then started to drag it, but that's okay. So learn from me, don't push down so hard. So you can get two different looks with an embossing folder. Remember, this is your raised side, but this can be your negative side. So you have two ways that you can do this. So we could color this all with our white ink and just have the floral image show through like this, or we flip it over like this and just our raised image shows. And I'm gonna use this piece because I pushed too hard on that and I don't like it. So I'm gonna go like that, but now is this piece cut to the right size? That is the question. No, it's not. But that can be easily fixed. Glass and Garden embossing folder. Thank you, Holly. So I need this to be 5 1/8. And 3 7/8. So this is a great way to show you guys that, and I do this a lot, you guys know that. You're on live TV, anything can happen, right? Mistakes happen, good and bad. And so I pressed a little hard with my white ink pad, and that's okay. But like I said, another way to do this, let's see if I can do this without, is just to lay your ink pad right on top and just real lightly, like that, okay? I have juicy corners, I realize, that's my problem. But, you know what we do? We're just gonna go through and feather those in like that, and all is good with your inky fingers. You know how many times I create things that I don't like at home, and it's just paper. Remember, you can redo it, or you do something completely different than what you originally planned. And that's okay. Sometimes I feel like those happy accidents sometimes turn into beautiful cards sometimes. I think I need to open my new one, or you guys will hear me just bang, 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 and you go crazy, right? Ooh, that's a lot of glue. And I didn't mean to put it in the center, but I got carried away here. But that's okay. Holly, you agree? I do. There are sometimes you're creating something and it's completely not what you intended it to be, and you end up loving it. Like I said, happy accidents. Or you find your favorite color combination, or whatever. Just let the artist in you come out. I know you like to think sometimes you're not an artist, but if you're doing any type of this crafting, or some of you think, oh, I'm not creative. You are creative, you just don't realize it. Your creativity might be a little bit different. Okay, so this is where I love this Sea Secret. You guys will see, I'll pull in those card buffet cards again, and I use Sea Secret for black on the beach tote. And I thought this card, it was so simple and so pretty that it made a great sympathy card. So this would make a really pretty wedding card too. What I did with my card now is I went through all of these little open spots and I added some Wink of Stella, because everything's better with a little bit of bling. You don't have to do this, it's optional, but Who doesn't love a little bit of sparkle on their card, right? I'm running low. The juices are... How many of you, when you get low like this, kind of refill or liven up your Wink of Stella by adding a little bit of rubbing alcohol to it? That's what you can do. Put a little bit of rubbing alcohol in it and you'll get a little bit extra life out of your Wink of Stella. And now I'm just going to take my sponge dauber that I already had ink on, and I don't want a lot of ink, so I tapped it off. And I'm just tapping the edges of this a little bit and bring in that Wink of Stella. So we're going to do a lot of popping up of things. These dimensionals, they're everywhere. I was spring cleaning last week and definitely had dimensionals all over my house. And they're still there. So put this slightly off to the side, like that. And bring in our tear tape and our silver so it comes in silver and in gold. And I'll just weave this back and forth, like so. It's so sparkly. I love it. And add more dimensionals. Now you don't have to add all these dimensionals. I like dimensionals. As Christine would always say, once you pop, you can't stop. Okay, and I'm putting it a little bit lower on my circle because I want to see that cloud cover come through. So just like that. Look how pretty and simple that is. And then, instead of stamping something on the inside, I thought, why not just take our embossing folder? So I just embossed, took that same embossing folder and just embossed. You can use with any embossing folder and just emboss the bottom of my inside. And then we're gonna stamp it. Not in white though. White will not show up on white. Did you guys know that? That's what happens. So clearly mark your ink pads because I saw the dark label, assuming it was my C secret. But this is really my white ink. So there we go. Simple, elegant, like I said, a great sympathy card or a wedding card, whatever you want this to be. And it could be even a graduation card. There we go. So we'll get some of my mess out of the way because I made a wonderful mess today. And then we're gonna bring in these gems. Oh my goodness, they're gorgeous. These are the new In Color gems. They're flat pearls, but they have a little iridescent to them, and they're so, so pretty. And I'm just gonna put these on a few centers of my flowers. There we go. So, so pretty. Okay, so let's bring in today's cards. So here we did the technique where we just dragged our ink pad over the top, and you make sure you want to do it really gentle, okay? Here's our bokeh or bokeh technique, depending on how you pronounce it, and also stamping with our white ink and heat embossing it. Then I showed you two different options. This was stamped, this was heat embossed, but we painted on colored cardstock. And like I said, you can use anything. You can use balmy blue, you could use lemon lolly, any light colored cardstock you could color in white and then have color really pop off of it. I agree with you, Karen. Those gems are gorgeous. And here was our shadow technique where we stamped it in white and then stamped over it again, but shifted our words down a little bit to give it a really cool shadow technique. So like I said, here are just a few techniques that you can use with the white ink. So I hope this gets you guys to pull out that white ink pad that has maybe been collecting dust and get out there and try some of these techniques and use this. So these kits will be available. Today is the 7th, so they will be available until Monday to order. Kits are $22 plus shipping. Those of you know I try to combine shipping either with my own packages or sometimes with Christine's packages. So depending how things work out, I can't always promise to make that work, but I definitely will try to do that for you because I get it. We're all the same. If we can save $1 or $2, I'm all about it. And then we have our card buffet. Like I said, I did the in-person version already, and they got to pick and choose what cards they made. We had a great day of stamping. Online, you're going to get all 6 cards. So this is where I said I use the Sea Secret. It looks just like black on here, but it's gorgeous, just gorgeous. So you get all 6 cards for $32. That'll be available till Sunday. $32 plus shipping. Like I said, if you have other packages from me or Christine, maybe I can sneak it in. She's shipping tomorrow, so she does it once a month about. So we'll try to work things out where we can. So if you have any questions, as always, reach out to me, email, Facebook, whatever. I really appreciate you guys being here and watching me stumble through the day. That happens, right? But we can find alternatives. And like I said, sometimes those very mistakes that we make turn into really creative, cool things. So never underestimate the power of a mistake sometimes. And oopsie, whatever, something great can really come out of that. So I hope you all have a wonderful Mother's Day. I know I will, and I hope the weather will hold out for everyone. I know Easter wasn't so great around here, so I hope we have a wonderful Mother's Day, and I will be back on Monday. We'll be doing this card buffet live, so I will see you then. So grab your coffee next Monday and join me at 9 o'clock Central Time. And in the meantime, have a great week. Thank you.